morning, everyone. Welcome to the AI Application Forum. I'm Sharon Chai, your moderator and Marketing Tech Operations Lead at Anthropic, where I leverage AI intelligence to drive workflow optimization and business growth. Today, we're excited to have three distinguished experts in the industry at the forefront to speak with you about the AI application innovations. First of all, we have Ming, who is our former CTO of eBay Classified Group's emerging market, who has led digital transformations across global markets, scaled technology teams from Silicon Valley to South Africa and China. Ming, would you like to say hi to everybody?
Good morning, everyone. Really glad to be here. And I'm currently a senior advisor for a startup company in Europe. It's called XOOTS. They focus on using AI power to transform talent recruitment and also unlock the potential of teams. And for me personally, I'm very interested and excited about AI's ability to reshape how, not just products, but how software engineers do their work, innovate, and learn. So really glad to be here.
Awesome, thank you. Next, we have Yusan Ling, who is the founder and CEO of Mirror AI, and an AI scientist with a PhD in computer science, who has published extensively on AI and fashion applications and previously served as an applied scientist at Amazon Fashion. Yusan, would you like to say hi to everybody?
Hello, everyone. My name is Yusan. I'm the founder and CEO of Mirror AI. I'm originally from Hsinchu, so probably some people are from Hsinchu. And I've been working in the space of AI and fashion for 13 years now, and very happy to be here today and share more.
Awesome. Last but not least, we have Wei, who is the Chief Product Officer at Chihu Labs, who brings expertise from Apple's AI ML research team, where he worked on natural language understanding, scene understanding, and interactive robotics.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. So at Chihu, what we do is we try to do the high-quality animations for the feature film quality in Hollywood movies. And we do see a lot of very, very interesting opportunity, and I also learn a lot, and I'm looking forward to share with you today.
Awesome. So today, we'll dive into the lessons learned and from developing AI at scale and examining emergent opportunities and challenges and get tangible impact across different sectors. So let's dive into it. First of all, since we're one session away from lunch, let's start with some fun question. If there's one part of your daily routine that you could optimize through AI, what would that be? Or there's any part that you don't want AI to touch?
For me personally, I think, because I go to a lot of meetings, talk to people, and sometimes it's kind of hard to keep track of who I talk to, what the decisions we made in all the previous meetings, right? So if before I go into a meeting, or maybe even like before I reply to an important email, AI can just summarize all the discussions we had in the past. So I can do this context switching like on the spot. I can right away remember what has been discussed and then just follow up from there. That would be really helpful. What AI should not touch is, I'm a big fan of classical music. I know there's a lot of AI just like do music and stuff. Don't touch my Beethoven. I hate it. Don't do that. Okay.
Awesome. Fun?
For me, definitely, I want AI one day to automate my morning and night routine, because I don't wake up like this, and I wish I could. But and the part that I don't want automated is definitely human connection. I know there is a rise of the companion AI, but I really value real personal touches.
I will agree to that.
For me, because I always hesitate a lot, so I want the AI to help me to spread out all the options I can make. You know, every day we need to make a lot of decisions. And because of that kind of hesitation, I don't know what's the best option I need to do. So I'm very looking forward to have the AI. Every time I have any questions, then it can help me to lay down all the options and I can handpick one. And for the part that I don't want AI to touch is about the story part. Because the story part is the one that can get the connection between peoples. And I think that's so sincere that we shouldn't be replaced by AI at all.
So giving you options, tell you which one is the best, and for storytelling, you would still love to be the author of it. Awesome. So now let's dive into the AI current state. Who use AI on a daily basis? Can you raise your hand? Well, yeah, more than half. Some of you are still getting there. That's why we're in this forum. So first of all, we'd love to start with the question, right? There's so many AI innovation and investments, billions of dollars globally in 2024. Let's start with Ming. From your perspective, what is driving the surge in hype? Why is everybody going after AI?
Of course, yeah. We see a lot of benefit from using AI. Like I use it myself a lot, right? But frankly, I think a huge part of that is what I call FOMO, fear of missing out. And I see actually this is very similar to in the 90s. I think some of them were not born yet. In the 90s, when there was a dot-com boom, you see a lot of hot money being thrown into the market, right? And I think that's exactly what's going on right now. And a lot of companies, even I'll tell you this, right? A major retailer, I was working in their e-commerce department, and the CFO actually admitted that when they decided to invest in the .com, it wasn't a like, oh, we had this idea about how we reshape the online shopping. It was really a defensive mechanism because everybody has a website. How come we don't have a website? We need to have a website. So I think that's really driving a lot of these innovation and a lot of money being thrown into that. Yeah, eventually .com became .com bubble burst, but I don't think even if that happens with AI will still be here, right? I mean, if you guys remember eToys or Webvan, they went away, but hey, we're still shopping toys online. We're still doing grocery shopping online too, so they will be here to stay.
So most of it of hype is driven by everybody's feeling of missing out, wanted to catch up, but not sure about the tangible benefit yet. Some of us have figured out, but some of us are still getting there. Any thoughts additional around it, React?
Yeah, so from the style perspective, what we see is that last year people were hyping around the foundation model, right? Because people see, okay, with this breakthrough about foundation model, we open out a lot of imagination. But starting this year, a lot of focus has been shifting to, okay, what is the real workflow that can drive the real value in the real life? So even, for example, in the entertainment business, last year people might just be hyping about, okay, some video generation model. But this year, people start to try to understand, okay, with this video generation model, how to really get a new workflow to create some high quality contents that the audience can really enjoy. So I think that's very, very different than the bubbles in the .com network, because we just spend only 1 year and shift the focus to some real value stuff right now.
Then my next question is for Yusan. Like, since Asia is now second to North America in terms of Gen AI adoption, so what unique advantages do you see that Asian tech companies have?
Yeah, because for Mira, we directly work with fashion brands and also fashion publishers. We see the huge difference between Asian market versus the European or North American market. I think there's a lot of legacy brands and also more famous and reputable individuals in the fashion industry of Europe and North America. Therefore, that actually creates a huge resistance and reluctance of adopting AI, because what does it mean to replace a creative? Whereas in Asia, there is a huge embrace, even from, like, let's say Taipei Fashion Week. They have this thinking of embracing AI and leveraging AI even on the runway. And these two, I think, for Asian companies that are doing AI tech, it's a lot easier to get into the Asian market.
Wei, would you like to?
Yeah, so from entertainment business, it's even more diverse, as you can imagine, because entertainment is always trying to get a connection with your audience. And this audience is very local, so you need to understand their preference. So for example, even though we are very, very focused on the US market right now, which is more about high quality story and with some 3D animation content, but if we all look at the Japanese market, it's all about the 2D anime, right? So when we try to talk to any collaboration with the Japanese IP holder or partners, we need to adapt to their culture better. And even further, if we try to adapt to the China market or Taiwan markets, people have a different taste. So I would say different market, they have their own strengths and they have their own existing business value chain to build those stuff. And the AI cannot replace all of them. We first need to make sure that AI can really understand the local market needs and then to expand it from there.
Yeah, speaking of entertainment, I was scrolling through threads, and I realized that there's so many people start like kind of using their own picture and then merge it with their idol's picture, like F4 or Energy, because they want the picture with their idol, but they start using AI to have a picture with their idol through, you know, OpenAI or like ChatGPT. But I've not only seen that from like Asian friends. I didn't see any of like American friends or non-Asian friends doing that. So I think that's interesting phenomenon, how Asian market is different from Western.
And from what I see, right, I think this is changing, of course, but when it comes to data privacy, in our Asian culture, we don't seem to care as much in comparison with the Western world. In my experience, right, when I was discussing some projects with my European colleagues, within 3-5 minutes we'll be like, yeah, but there's GDPR, we care about this and that. And in Asia, right, I know things are changing, but still, when it comes to data, people don't worry as much about privacy. And because of the sheer number of people and then also data quality, I think in the Asian market, there's an advantage that we can collect a lot more data, a lot better data than in the rest of the world. And also I have a kind of a weird theory, right? But I think that in our Asian culture, people seem to be more open to accepting AI. If you look at like, you know, Hollywood, right, you see Terminator and all that scary stuff. In Asia, we have Doraemon. So I think from our childhood, we have already been fine-tuned to accept robots. Just an idea.
Yeah, data privacy is quite interesting, right? Like it kind of echoes with my story on Threads. Like Asian countries are more willing to try new things and less concerned about data. So there's also a ton of opportunity for us to collect more data with user consent, of course. Okay, very interesting. Now, my next question is, as maybe toward Yusan, as you're the founder in the AI space in the fashion industry, how are you seeing the gap between the AI technology capabilities versus the actual business implementations? What is working well? What are the area that is still a gap?
Yeah, I think it has always been this way in terms of technology development, but even more so in the past couple of years. It has become such huge amount of technology overhang when, for example, in our field, we started the company last year, an image generation model has improved at such a rapid speed. What we were using last year is not even close to what we have access to, like Nano Banana that I released a few weeks ago. And what we realized is the industry, fashion industry, let's say, has not caught up at all. Like they need someone to actually tell them how to use AI. They're not the one to learn about which image generation model is the best. But it has become such a fear that they are worried about models are getting smarter than them, and the resistance of adopting is actually widening the gap. Therefore, it needs startups like us to create vertical AI that will actually bring in these image generation model, but more in a workflow into their industry right now.
Yeah, so there are a lot of tools in the market, and people are still figuring out what is going to be actually tangible, immediate success, versus some of the things that they're still like crawling, and then walking, and later on flying. Yes. So it takes time to adapt to it, sounds like. Okay, now we're talking about all the current states, and that's moved to like a future vision perspective. So my question is, beyond chat GPT or chat bots or generate images like Gong Qijun, you know, what are the next iPhone moment that you think that we're gonna face, how that would shift our human thinking in terms of interaction with computer?
So when we start to build our product, because I'm the product officer of Chihu, so we start to realize one thing. So everything that we try to make AI be more efficient is around the context understanding. So for example, every day possibly when you use AI, the first thing you want to do with AI is that you want to share as much detailed context as possible so that their response is as accurate as possible. And the same thing across is so true across every end, including the content creation, including the daily work, operation stuff. So I really believe that the next iPhone moment beyond this chatbot is really when it comes to the AI that can understand all of your context in your daily life, in your workflow. So at that moment, it can really help you to do a lot of options, present options for you, and then you can just make a decision. So I would say that would dramatically change the human working efficiency and living quality as well.
Helping you reduce those mundane work that you have to repeat over again. That would take it off your plate, sounds like.
Well, yeah. Frankly, I don't know what the next iPhone moment is for AI, but I'm just seeing, because nowadays you guys know how it is, right? There's a lot of noises out there, a lot of different apps, and our attention span is really short now too, right? So you see a lot of these things pop up. But I'm worried that we're losing focus here, right? Because AI or not AI, I think the most important thing is still the product itself. And I've heard of this, one of my favorite analogy about AI. I didn't come up with this, I heard it from somewhere else, is that AI is like the barbecue sauce, okay? So when you invite me over to a barbecue dinner, you cannot just say, I'll give you AI, I'll give you barbecue sauce. I'll be like, where's the beef, dude, right? So still, what's the most important thing is the product itself. Do you have a product that solves problems for your customers? If you don't have a product like that, or yeah, you do have your beef, but it's what, like overcooked, then it doesn't matter what kind of barbecue sauce you put on the steak. It is still a pretty bad product, right? Still a pretty bad barbecue experience. So yeah, whatever that next AI, whatever iPhone moment is, right? I think let's not forget about the most important thing is the steak itself. I think we're hungry because it's almost lunch.
It's a perfect moment to mention about steak and barbecue. Yeah, so the core value of your product or services still gonna be key. Doesn't matter what tool you're using in terms of AI. It's more like figuring out what is really core and the core problem you're solving for. Exactly. That doesn't change.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100% agree with Ming, because well, I'm a first-time founder, so when first time starting the company, I was daydreaming, imagining all these fantastic application AI can bring to the fashion industry. And actually bringing these ideas to them, they were like, we don't want that. We don't want all these like hyper-personalization you're talking about, or creating an even more aesthetically pleasing photo shoot. We actually have fun doing our own photo shoot. We're fine. But there are all these mundane tasks they call like doing the PDP of flat lays of garments they have to do every time they have a new collection they were dropped. They hate that. And that's the part they actually want automated. It's not all these fancy things we imagine they would need. So replacing the mundane tasks instead of presenting a bad piece of beef is more useful.
That's awesome. So focus on like the actual creative processes, controls, and how do you like optimize it from the very, very basic things is what I heard. Yeah. Now we talked about like a little bit of risks, challenges. So I will want to open up the question about like how do you see the emerging risks, challenges about actually adopting AI applications in company or your day-to-day? Maybe stay with Busan.
Yeah, so we help a lot of fashion brands to create imagery where it's on model or flat lay or even a campaign editorial. And one of the biggest issue the space has seen is the non-consensual usage of someone's likeness. A lot of you might have seen just a few weeks ago, Shein is on the news because they accidentally generated images of a convicted murderer as their model on their website. And that got a lot of backlash. And another negative news in the fashion industry is also Vogue with the Guess campaign. They used an AI model instead of a real person, and that got the whole model union really upset. So it's either this kind of deep fake type of danger that is emerging, or this threat towards an existing industry that is risking either the industry adopting AI or too quickly without regulation, making someone lose their jobs.
Is there any ways to solve yet?
Yes, so that's why our Mirror AI comes in. So we are building a marketplace for modeling agency and fashion brands, when brands can actually come in and digitally cast and hire these models, and using our tool to generate, using the model's likeness, generate the images where the modeling agencies and the models actually still get revenue in that way, and customers can still feel they can resonate with the actual models on the images. So that's from the fashion industry perspective, the solution we're proposing.
Like privacy policy and like with the consent by the people that are referencing to generate the AI.
Yes.
Awesome. Any, right?
So from my perspective, what I see in this AI trending is that it's actually lowered down the bar to entry certain fields that originally can be very, very hard for you to understand. So for example, in the entertainment business, when we try to learn to use 3D engines like Maya or like Houdini, like Unreal Engine, it usually takes one couple years to be an expert in that field. But nowadays, with the help about the 3D understanding AI, will also help you to do some, even just using some ChatGPT, it can help you learn to use it so fast. And so this is actually both an opportunity, but also a risk. The opportunity is that, okay, now even with, for example, like me, I didn't use Maya before I started startup, but I was able to do some very, very fancy demo very quickly, just in 2 months. So the opportunity here is that if you have some great ideas, you can start to demo it and try to test it out very, very quickly. But the downside is that if you are not willing to learn, other people will catch up very quickly. So I would say this is something that I have been experiencing over the past few months. And a very concrete example I can also show to everyone here is that nowadays when we try to hire new teammates, we don't question their capability to do the real programming or not. Instead, we try to test out how they can interact with different AI agents and deliver some tasks that was only be able to deliver in weeks. But now we ask them to deliver in just 20 minutes during the interview sessions. And so that kind of open beam, open-minded to embrace the AI capability, but still stay very focused to what to deliver is very, very crucial. And I do see that it's both an opportunity and also a risk.
To lower the entry bar, the thresholds, AI will not replace people, but it will replace people that don't use AI. Ming?
And the way I see it, right, I mean, the risk I see in AI is people misuse the technology. Sometimes I feel like there are things that can be done, probably they should not be done, right? Of course, it goes too deep about like then how AI replaces people and all that, right? But more immediately, like I said earlier when I introduced myself, I'm very interested in how AI can reshape how software engineers work. And a lot of software companies are adopting this, right? They use Copilot or Co-Assist from Gemini, Google. But before you jump into that, right, I think you need to really figure out, again, what problem are you trying to solve? What is the beef you're trying to cook, right? And then before you jump into that, really, once you define that, you have to really understand how do you measure success? What does success look like? So I would always suggest that before a software team jumps into using these tools, define a set of KPIs, like maybe use, we call DORA, right? That measures your deployment frequency, your lead time for change failure rate, mean time to restore, or measure your system uptime. You take some numbers before you start to use AI. Then once you start to do that, right, you keep an eye on these measures and see if by adopting AI, are you really improving these DORA measures? Or is AI actually making it worse? Is your system uptime is actually worse because you use AI, right? So yeah, the risk really is everybody is like, oh, fear of missing out. They jump into AI. But they don't really understand why are we doing this and what does success look like. So it's very important to define that before we jump into that.
Just to ask a follow-up questions, if you're like the IC individual contributor, that you have some amazing ideas, that how would you recommend like they persuade the management to, hey, try this, right? Because they may have some ideas, but they don't know how to measure it. Like any ideas how they can communicate?
I would say this, right? You use your spare time, quote unquote, and start to use it. And then once you have some tangible result, go to your manager and say, hey, look, I started to do this, and this is the result. Look at the, I don't know, maybe the lead time for change, or maybe the change failure rate. I improved by 50%. With the tangible result and data, that will get your manager's attention.
So if you
Don't
have an
seek
idea,
approval. Yeah, you have idea, honestly,
try it and
just
show
try it and do it.
success.
If you fail, apologize and move on. If you succeed, bring it to their attention. Let's celebrate together.
Awesome, great to hear. I would definitely want to leave some time for like Q&A, if any. So my last question for now is, what is your best advice for our participants when they think about AI applications or wanting to use AI in their day-to-day? What is your best advice? Maybe Wei?
Yeah, so my suggestion would be stay curious and also make sure you have the sharpest critical thinking you can have. And because, as we all know, the AI is being trained on the massive data, right? So eventually, if you don't get any context to the AI, the answer you are getting back is going to be an average answer across the entire group. And so the way that you can be critical thinking is going to help you to really get the really real values from those interactions with AI. And the second thing is that being curious, because as we said, nowadays, when you try to learn something new, the bar has been so low. So you want to make sure that you always have some brilliant idea, and then you have the willing to do some very quick prototypings with AI. So for examples, when we try to hire a new PM, the product manager role here, what we are looking for is that, is he willing to do some very quick prototypings with some ideas in his mind, in his or her mind, and present to the management team, present to the engineering team, to persuade, okay, this is really the best product directions that we should pursue after. And so both this direction, I would say, is super, super important in our company right now.
Stay curious and think critically. Even like you're not product manager or you're not engineer, you can still do those type of work by asking the right question to the tool, right? Awesome.
Yeah, my advice would be, because AI has become such a commodity now, don't train a model if you don't have to. We learned it the hard way. And really think about what's the problem that has not been properly solved yet, and existing AI techniques can already help solve, and stack up an application or a prototype accordingly. And one of the stories I want to share about this vibe coding and prototyping, even though I'm a scientist by training, I still think with the AI's help to build very quickly, a non-technical person can also deliver a prototype really quickly. We are very lucky. One of our angels is the CPO of Microsoft. So when I was pitching to her, she literally said, I'm very passionate about fashion. I don't have time to code, but thank God now I have vibe coding. So she sent me a prototype of a small prototype that she built with vibe coding, just her spare time. Imagine how busy she is on a day-to-day. And she asked me, can you promise me eventually you will also do something like this? And I was like, yes. And then she said, okay, then I'll invest. So it's just not only from the IC perspective, but even people that are so high up and very, very busy, they can also leverage and then build a prototype quickly.
Last but not least.
Yeah, I think that I echo what Wei said, right? Stay curious. And I would also say that try to leverage AI more in your personal life, right? Yeah, as a software engineer or whatever you do, try to use AI at your work. But in your personal life, try to use AI too. So I'll give you a personal experience, right? I like to study Buddhism. I'm not a very devoted Buddhist, otherwise I would not eat meat. So anyway, so I'm especially lately I've been like studying the Diamond Sutra. I don't know if some of these you guys know about it. And it's a very classical, like reading classical Chinese and all that. So just one day out of curiosity, I just throw it into I got a PDF copy and throw it into Google Notebook. And then I started to chat with Google about like what the sutra is all about. And they even generated a podcast and was like explaining the whole thing. I was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. So I sent a copy to my Shifu back in Taiwan. I'm like, hey, Shifu, is this what they are saying? Is that correct? I mean, is there any like, reason, like, what they are saying? Does that make sense? And she listened to that. She's like, wow, they are very good. And that's the moment. I was like, wow, I think my computer will become a Buddha before I do, and it doesn't even have a soul, right? So yeah, stay curious. When you see like some useful things, you can use AI. I didn't even expect computer can actually explain Buddhism to me. So yeah, make sure you do that. And also another word especially for software engineers, a lot of people are talking about, yeah, we don't need software engineers anymore and stuff, right? I don't believe that, but the future is not determined yet. But my advice for especially software engineers, or maybe for everyone, right, is we don't know if AI will replace you, but people who know how to use AI will replace you if you don't. So keep that in mind. That's very important.
Let's start with exploring how AI can enrich your personal life, even hobbies.
Yeah,
right?
even
hobbies. Buddhism is a great example. Awesome. We have a couple minutes, 5 minutes. Wondering if anybody have questions.
My question is to you, San. I remember maybe 10 years ago, I heard about this exciting prospect that I will no longer have to go to the fitting room, and it would be just like once in my life there would be a 3D model of myself, and then I will just apply it to any fashions that is available online, and it's still not there. I still have to go to the fitting room. So when this future is coming?
On the behalf of one of the fashion tech member, I apologize. We haven't yet delivered. Yes, it's been a decade, and since I started my PhD, it has been the dream. And I'm sure a lot of people have watched the movie Clueless. That's also part of the features. The capability of AI dressing someone now is there, but the fitting is bad still. So the size is still bad. I spent 2 years at Amazon Fashion. That was my only task every day. I think I have one of my colleagues here still. Maybe she's still solving it. But I also talked to a couple of people work at virtual try-on at Google. Sizing is extremely hard. You can get a feel of the style right now already, but it won't be fit. We're sorry.
Customers are here.
Great question. Anything is possible. AI is growing exponentially every year. So who knows? In 5 years,
Yes.
maybe the dream will come true. Let's hope for that. Any other questions from the crew? Don't be shy. Otherwise, we'll go for lunch. Oh, there's one. There's a lady in the white, if you don't mind passing. Thank you. It's already on.
So I'm very impressed by what you all just shared, and then I think that you all emphasize that the important part of the core product to build and the real problem to solve. And I really want to know that how do you find out these real problem and core product, and then make sure that you have passion in it and you have belief that is a real one that people will care about.
The question is about how do you even identify the problems?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, it's important, right? Like there's in product management, there's some framework called jobs to be done, right? So let's say, when you sell a hammer, are you really selling a hammer or you need to identify, hey, maybe your customers want a hammer so they can put a nail on the wall so they can hang a picture on the wall, right? So you really need to get to the bottom of what is really the problem they're trying to solve. And whether it's a problem worth solving or not, I think it still depends on the market, right? It could be a pretty exciting problem to solve, but frankly, when it comes to like building a startup and then trying to make the company a success and make it a going concern, it has to bring in money, unfortunately, right? When you start a company, it's an enterprise. It's not a nonprofit company, and then so yeah, really figure out what your customer is trying to do, and then is that problem by solving that can keep your company a going concern. I think that's how we do it.
Yeah, I can add some point here. So I think it really comes down to your own belief in certain domains. So for example, in entertainment, what I shared at the beginning is that I believe that it's a story that cannot be replaced. So what does that mean? So because every audience attention is limited, we all have very, very limited, possibly only have 1 hour of the relaxed time every day. So how we can possibly lay some story or some content to get that attention is very, very tricky. So let's assume that if you can see some very massive generated content by some video generation models, possibly at the first glance, it can catch your attention, but very soon, once that content is being floated all around the internet, you won't care about it anymore. So eventually, it's the real story that can get the echoes from the creators and the audience that can really create the real value. So that is our belief. So when we design our products, we all center around it. We make sure that every part of the creation flow is still centered around the story that the creator wants to tell the story. So that's how we try to find the real value in this rapid iteration world.
Answer your question? Is there anything else?
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the question. We have one more question. Thank you.
Hello. Hey, quick question to Wei Chen Guo. So, in the security area or in AI, a lot of things are very abstract. So, as you mentioned that we need to have stay with the curiosity, and then a lot of great story happens once before. But what if I have a lot of stories or narrative that may happen in the futures? And then is that possible? I use your tool to create those narratives to influence people to promote, for example, sovereign AI, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I would say nowadays the Copilot. So that's the idea about the Copilot. So I believe that we all use the programming Copilots, right? But when it comes to the real business problem to be solved, you still need to get to your own nuance. Of course, now we can start with, okay, possibly I just have one very generic idea saying, okay, today is a sunny day, and then start from there, help me to build a narrative to tell. But eventually, you are going to interact with the AI and make sure that you really comes down to some story in your mind that you want to tell to the audience. So I would say definitely possible that through some Copilot methodology right now, it can help you to bring out your idea easier. But eventually, it's still your core value to see how you can impact your audience more.
Right, because one of the things in sovereign AI is that people trying to inject their ideologies into the story and create all those different narratives in different form, trying to influence people and have them watch every day in many different way. And then if there's a way to automate that process in a low cost and a fun and then even more impressive, then that would be a critical thing that impacts sovereign AI.
It is, but just like an influencer on the YouTube, right? So nowadays you can see that the influencer market is so crowded, and every influencer is trying to find some niche, surprising point that can attract the audience. Eventually, we are going to see something very similar to the AI world as well. So we can start with something generic, but eventually everyone needs to go find their niche audience test that they can trust most.
I can probably be your user to test that. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the question. I think we have time for one more question. Is there anybody there? Okay, behind, like 5 rows behind you. Lady there. Thank you.
Hey, hi. I have a question for Yushan. It's really exciting and inspiring to see you make transit from the individual contributor in the big tech and to form your own company. So I want to know, do you have any advice for those people that have been working in a big tech for a while, but have some cool ideas to build their own business? So yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I wouldn't recommend everyone doing what I did, just like cold quit. It was a little bit impulsive, but I think right now seeing how capable vibe coding is, and then seeing how a lot of people having their day job but then still building prototypes and testing it out, sending to friends and family, or even launching their own little wait list with an Instagram account, I think that's the way to go. And it's a lot safer. And while you're still having your big tech job, apply to accelerators or start having coffee chats with investors and then to test out the idea. I think that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, good start. Thank you.
With that, thank you so much for our incredible panelists for your insightful sharing and insights. And to all of you for being here, for the great questions and engagement. We really appreciate it. Last but not least, for Taiwan Tech Summit for creating this platform for us to share ideas and connect. With that, thank you. We're off to lunch, I believe. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.